I'm here in St. Pantaleon, about 10 kilometers from Enns, where they found a brick burning oven, dated to late antiquity, to the 4th century, and it was likely that this oven provided the bricks either for the Burgos, which is about another 10 kilometers from here, or for the legionary camp at Lauriacum. Very nice little river here, ancient bridge. And I'm now going to walk on to find the next Burgos at Au. How the Danube can flood the area. Pretty much everything here could be underwater in flooding years. And just ahead there, somewhere in this forest, are the remains of the Burgos of Au-Rottenhof. I'm running around crisscross now through this very lovely forest, these wetlands here next to the Danube, looking for this Burgos. There's no indication anywhere. The maps are quite imprecise. It's not on Google Earth or Google Maps or anything, so I can only go from this Limes map that I have and try and figure out the exact location. The map is not very precise either, so I hope it is somewhere around here. There should be a little river somewhere here, and a little dip in the landscape, and it should be there. It's not clear to me from what I've written if there's actually some visible ruins or if it's completely covered by earth again, so I may not even find it. That is not the Burgos. It was impossible to find the Burgos. I got almost lost in this sort of wetlands forest here, and trying to cross several rivers, smaller and bigger ones here. Of course, I fell into the water. The trees that were kind of fallen across the rivers were not carrying anymore, so I was trying them. I hoped it'll work, but they broke and I fell into the water. Fortunately, it wasn't very deep, back walking along the shores of this fateful river. Over there at the next bend is Walsee, the next Roman station. It's bad weather coming, rain, that'll reach me soon. Walsee ahead with an AT waiting for me already, apparently. And then see already the mountains here leading up to the Wachau. I'm trying to get to Walsee now and then on to Ardaga, which is another 10 kilometers after that. There's pretty bad weather coming. Caught up with me in Walsee, and there's some thunder already. I'm not sure if I can continue the way today. I'll keep a close watch on this now for the next half an hour. This is where the camp, or the castrum at Walsee, had its walls. The castle would extend outwards towards where this castle is now. And there is 2 Chinooks flying. The Austrian army doesn't have any Chinooks, so that's Americans, I presume. No idea what they're doing here. I'm standing here in the very side of the castrum of Walsee, which according to the digs has been identified either as Adjuvense or as Locus Felicis. Professor Ubl was of the opinion that this is to be identified with Locus Felicis. Today, most people refer to it as Adjuvense. Debates are still ongoing. Professor Ubl based his assessment that this is Locus Felicis on Notitia Dignitatum 3334. And he was heavily involved in the digs of this place. Hannsjörg Ubl publicized about Walsee in der Römische Limes in Österreich, Führer zu den archäologischen Denkmälern, published in 2002. And he also publicized about the brick stamps of Julianus Magister Figoline, which were found here in Walsee, and this was published in 2008. Here we have a nice view behind me of the palace of Walsee. It's, I believe, privately owned. It says entry forbidden. Has a splendid view. It is exactly where the Roman castrum would have been, and from here you have a brilliant view of the plains north of the Danube. There's a pretty big swampland. There's actually a very nice Celtic museum just 3 kilometers north of the Danube here, which is called Mitterkirchen, where some Hallstatt and some early Latin buildings have been reconstructed with very nice furniture inside, and I'm going to report on this really nice little village in a few months when I'm doing some Latin stuff again. There was probably also a Roman brick fabrication site here, and accordingly also a big center for ships to come to take up some bricks, bring them somewhere. So what I can say already is that along the Limes I found a lot of brick manufacture so far, so that was really a very important thing, and it makes total sense that they are next to the river, because you would want to transport bricks as much as possible via the waterways. Yes, this is a brilliant location, and I can see that the place was chosen because you have a very wide view left, right and behind, and especially north of the Danube, and you can see a lot of movement over there, especially control all the waterways and ships that may be passing by. Unfortunately, the Roman Museum here is closed due to the corona measures. It will open from the 19th of May, so I will make a comeback here later on. Must be away somewhere. Damn. Just ahead is Ardaga, and we can see in the distance on the hill very prominently the Church of St. Ottila. But Ardaga is just ahead on the foot of the mountain. Just 2.5 kilometers outside of Ardaga now, and I should have arrived a day ago, but I've lost a day in between due to the weather and the difficult conditions of having packed too much initially. And so I'm arriving here today after 30 kilometers from St. Pantaleon, and I'm feeling pretty good today. Those 30 kilometers were absolutely no problem. Having no back pain. I'm not wearing the armor today. I'm wearing the shield though, and I'm having a few bags, like my helmet bag, my personal items, and the sword. And this shows, and my heavy cloak. And this shows me that really I think the main problem for my back pains is to be found in the combination between the chainmail and the form of its neck cutout, which is pretty bad at distributing the weight of the chainmail, which causes the cramps. And then of course the way of carrying the shield with which is probably a reenactorism, carrying it with 2 straps like a backpack, that's pretty bad as well. I'm now carrying the shield only on one shoulder. It's tilted to my side, and I'm having the sword and my personal items on the right side. So basically I have the weight distributed on both shoulders, and it's absolutely no problem. My legs hurt a bit, which is normal. I've been walking on tarmac most of the time, except for when I fell into the rivers earlier. And it's actually like very meditative at the moment, just walking. There was a terrible thunderstorm just about an hour ago, but I sat it out. Now the sun's coming out again at the back. Pretty bad weather still on the northern side of the Danube, but I'm walking in good weather again now. So I'll reach Ardaga, and tomorrow I'll walk again with the big pack, with the armor and with everything, and I'll try to make about 15 kilometers, because that's what I found out I can do with major difficulties, but that's about the distance I can go with the full pack. I've decided to go with the full pack in stretches where there is a lot of difficult terrain, mountains and these kind of things, because those are shorter stretches anyway, and there would be some difficulties for the carts as well, those carts that go with the army, and probably in order to help the pack animals and the drawing animals, some soldiers could have probably taken some of the load from the carts and transported it, and those were certainly shorter stretches, because I don't know many humans that are not absolutely beast mode that can do much more with the pack without being completely destroyed the next day. The sounds of the wetlands of the Danube Limes. Here's something very interesting. This is a commemorative monument, commemorative stone for the families that have been evacuated from this plain. There's several villages here and several families and farmers that lived in these sort of wetland plains that have been evacuated and settled somewhere else between the years 1975 and 2006 because of the devastating floods that happened between those years in this region. The Danube has the capacity to flood a vast area of terrain in those sort of plains that lay between the more mountainous areas, and there's a lot of damage that has happened, especially in the last big flood. I think it was 2002 or was it 2006, can't remember exactly, but this goes to show that strategic placement of infrastructure is key along the Danube. All right, some deity shows me the goal of today. Or am I riding? That's nice. We're now having a change of landscape again. Yesterday and the 2 days before we walked through a vast plain and floodlands, very flat with extended, very wet forests, and now the landscape changes over into more mountainous or hills in the terrain with a lot of cliffs, sort of more cold climate also, different forest, different vegetation. The river gets a bit more narrow again, and the next Burgos is just about 4 kilometers away, near Grein, and there's some spectacular cliffs around there and a very strategic position again. We see Grein just ahead, and we're just a few hundred meters from where I think the Burgos was, just at the end of that bridge. This is a notoriously dangerous stretch of the Danube. You can see it's a sort of bend. It's very little part of the Danube that you can actually control and see. It's a very short distance, and here we have a small valley that goes back into the hinterland, into Marcomanni territory. And it would be very easy to stage a raid on some of the merchant ships coming through here, because the Danube is also not very wide here. There's not many flatlands and sidearms because of the massive hills limiting where the water can go. So it would be very easy to raid coming from this valley, and that means basically that there must have been some sort of watchtower or some sort of rescue possibilities in this stretch. So someone either on this hill at the back there, or on the hill above me, or maybe on the little flat piece of land that's coming just around the corner here, must have been something to protect ships in this area. We can see that in later times also this hill here, a castle has been built, because it is a very important area to control. It's very easy to raid, it's a notorious kill zone, so to say. And on the map I can't find anything indicating Roman presence here or some sort of a Burgos. I've been looking around, I've been searching, but there is nothing, and I'm convinced that there must have been something. I'm even convinced that Romans would have sought to control this very hill over there on the other side of the Danube, especially in Valentinian's time, when they build a lot of infrastructure on the other side of the Rhine and the Danube rivers. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we have some Roman presence controlling that little valley over there. My dream is to be able to navigate the Danube in its entirety one day with a Roman reconstruction of a Roman Lusoria. And as close and near as this dream seemed a while ago, it's a bit further away now for me, but we're still working on it. And I also hope that the departments in Upper Austria and Lower Austria are going to consider my concepts and plans to build several of those ships and to make it possible for tourists in a very ecologically viable system of tourism along the Danube Limes to also experience the river from a Roman perspective, and to navigate between stations with reconstructions of various ship types that were found here. Here is one of the islands so characteristic for the Danube of old. You can just about imagine how a band of bandits, be they from within the empire or from outside, are encamping and hiding on this island just waiting for a good moment to raid one of the ships coming by. It's about 5 kilometers to Ybbs, which is just around the next corner there. And the Danube is much broader here because there's a dam further down around the corner. So you see how it's much larger coming from the back there. Here we are at Ybbs, and today was another about 30-33 kilometers. I felt it a bit more today, second day in a row that I do more than 30. I'm now carrying the shield strapped only to one shoulder and it's hanging on my left side. We had some discussions with some experts and some other reenactors from other time frames, and came to the conclusions that we should try to leave the rucksack idea a little bit behind because it's not supported by any iconography or any archaeological artifacts. So I'm trying this, it's working surprisingly well. I can imagine a few adaptations to make it even more comfortable, and I have a few ideas there. Anyway, here Ybbs, what's the interesting thing here? There's no real knowledge. There possibly was a burgos here, some finds of small items associated with the Roman military, and some inscriptions, some stones and little plates indicate that probably there was a burgos in this area, and also the strategic position would indicate that it makes sense